People pleasing, sometimes called codependency, but we're not going to go into that right now. We'll just call this people pleasing. So this is a tendency to put other people's needs first and to only focus on what others want at our own cost, at our own sacrifice. So we're neurotically caught in cycles of wanting to make other people feel happy before we're happy. And so I'm going to give you 5 tips right now to help you to break that cycle. Tip number 1, get into the habit of putting yourself first. Get into a practice daily of finding ways that you can organically and ethically, with the minimum amount of drama caused, of putting what you want and what is important to you before other people. Now you might say, no, this is selfish, this is cruel, this is narcissism. You know, in yoga, right, or in stretching, if your arm, like I don't have great flexibility in my arm moving that way, so I have flexibility moving it that way, so I don't move it that way, I move it where there's no flexibility that way, and I I don't hyperextend it, that would be damaging. I move it backwards to stretch it because it's not used to going that way. So people pleasers say there's a spectrum. It's all about you. It's all about me. And here's where a neurotypical or a balanced person would be. Sometimes it's about you. Sometimes it's about me. So we are all the way across the room, where all the way over in, it's all about you all the time. Not it's all about me all the time, or somewhere in the middle, where it's sometimes about you and it's sometimes about me, which is where we want to be. We're stuck over here. So our posture is the shoulder forward. So we want to stretch the shoulder back, not so you're walking down the road with your shoulder back, but so that your shoulder is in a neutral position. So that when you do your weights and you do your movements, your shoulder's in a nice neutral position. It's not too far forward, it's not too far back, but it's all the way forward. Where do we stretch it? So you're here, it's all about you all the time. So I'm saying, let's do some stretching every day that moves it over to you putting yourself first. You've got to deal with your guilt. People pleasing, in actuality, the structure that supports people pleasing is an emotional issue. So folks who watch this video, people like me, people like you, who are very, very stuck on wanting to please others, typically were conditioned in childhood, in adolescence, throughout life, to feel very guilty, to feel like if they wanted something, then that was a bad thing, that they should be obedient, that they should be subservient, that they should be a soft, passive little cupcake. That makes you the easiest to control, the easiest to exploit, and quite frankly, the easiest to use. Guilt is not your friend. This is not an authentic sense of healthy guilt. We're not talking about you doing something wrong and feeling healthy shame, healthy guilt, or healthy remorse. This is not that. This is a neurotic, conditioned, brainwashed compulsion to feel guilty because you do. But because you've never been anybody else and you've never lived the lived experience subjectively of other people's emotional reality, you don't know how guilt-free other people feel. So you've no way of contrasting. The human brain can really only perceive through contrast. And it really only is good at mapping things externally. It's quite weak at mapping things internally. Well, guilt is a feeling that's internal, and there's nothing to contrast it against because you've never not felt this level of guilt. So you must deal with your guilt, because your people-pleasing behaviors as you move through life, are you actually trying to avoid unconsciously, non-consciously? You're not deliberately doing this, but you're like, oh, I'll feel guilty if I go over there. I'll feel guilty if I go over there. I can't do that because I'll feel guilty. I'll just serve. I'm trying to work my way through the minefield so I don't feel guilt. So if you resolve these neurotic feelings of guilt, you won't be so susceptible to the neurotic drive to people please. Another part of the deep structure of, not of the personality as such, but the way people pleasers organize reality, I perceive, it seems to me, is an inability to accept that other people will suffer. We are, it seems, very phobic, very neurotic, very driven to make sure that other people don't suffer. Well, what did Carl Gustav Jung say about suffering? He said all neurosis, all mental health issues, he was using arcane language, all mental health issues are actually rooted in a drive to avoid legitimate suffering. So if you stop people from feeling the burden of the suffering that they should feel in their lives, you're actually making them, you're not just weakening them, you're making them mentally sick. If you follow his logic, which I do, I think Jung was 100% correct. All mental health issues are rooted in a drive to avoid legitimate suffering. Legitimate suffering is probably the name of a lecture that should be done. It would probably be done by a slender Canadian professor who sounds like Kermit the Frog. And I'm sure he'd do a very good job of it as well. In fact, I think he's probably been doing that lecture for, well, about 7 years now. So there is such a thing as legitimate suffering. There is such a thing as actually, as he would say, taking on a burden and dealing with it like an adult. There is such a thing as letting other people carry their own loads. So you do have to accept that people you care about will suffer because they're humans, and that's the nature of human life on earth. And you're not God. You're not God. And you're not Jesus. You're not Buddha. You're not a martyr. You're not a saint. You're not here to martyr your own life. This isn't one of the tips, but now I see it should have been. Let me slide another tip in here. Oh, that was a bit Freudian. We went from Jung to Freud there. Don't frame your meddling in other people's business as compassion. Don't frame it as a noble act, as a spiritual act, as empathy, as compassionate action. It's not. You really must let other people bear the load that they're supposed to bear. That's how we become strong, by lifting weight, by carrying weight, by resistance. It's called resistance training. That's what makes people muscular and fit, is through resistance. So let them resist. Let them deal with their own suffering. If you're neurotic and phobic about causing other people to never suffer, you will be a people pleaser for life. And that will make you very susceptible to being in abusive relationships. The fourth tip I would offer you is ask for what you want. Don't be manipulative. That's probably a second tip. So here's another tip I'm moving in there as well. So ask for what you want. Be forthright. Be honest. And don't be manipulative. You might say, no, I'm a people pleaser. I'm a codependent. I'm a good person. I'm the narcissist victim. I'm the narcissist magnet. I'm the so on and so forth. I'm the black sheep. I'm the scapegoat. Okay. But if you're moving through life, let me flip it on its head for you and offer you contrast here. And you're moving through life as an adult and you're functioning in the world and you're not asking for what you want in a forthright, open and courageous way. How are you getting what you want? Oh, I don't want anything. I'm so selfless. This is nonsense. It's utter bollocks. You're doing it through manipulation. You're doing it through the back door. You're doing it by going around the houses. You're doing it by pouting, by sad faces, by, letting people know you're not too happy with them, but you're not actually. Just ask for what you want. Give other people the gift of the psychological release of total honesty, of just saying, listen, my friend, this is what I want from you. And also, it requires not just courage, but humility, because when you've actually had the bravery and the decency and the honesty to just ask for what you want, the humility is that that person may say no. And if they say no, let their no be a no, as the Bible said. Let their yes be a yes and a no be a no. Respect the no. Ask for what you want. Be humble. Let the person say no. They might say yes. They might say no. Let that no be a no. Don't be manipulative. Somebody says no. No means no, and then you just let it go. The fifth tip I would offer you kind of ties in with that sub tip that I gave you in part 4 of not being manipulative. Ditch the act. Ditch the act. Stop relying on projections and illusions and perception control and propagandizing to get what you want. Be you. Just be you. Be the authentic person you are, and don't fall prey to the temptation to deceive, to manipulate other people's perception of you by controlling the narrative, by manipulation, by not asking for what you want, and by being dishonest. So if you're going to go out into the world and operate in the world, ditch the act. Whatever thing that you're doing that you think is helping you to get more of what you want, it almost certainly isn't. It almost certainly is moving you in the opposite direction. I imagine that many people will find this fifth tip particularly triggering, particularly difficult, particularly problematic. Because why? Because they know in their heart of hearts that they're not courageously being themselves. They don't ditch the act, that they're in cowardice being somebody else and keeping up an act to try and get what they want through manipulation. Again, with codependency and people pleasing, there is a critical lack of authenticity. There's a critical lack of honesty. You can't be honest if you're being inauthentic. You can't be humble if you're putting on an act. So be you. The danger here, of course, we're back to humility again, is if you're you and you're rejected for being you, that's you that was rejected, not the act. They didn't reject the act, they rejected you. That takes strength and courage to deal with. But this is the right way to live. This is what freedom looks like. So if you have been rejected for being you, then you can get on with your life. You can deal with the pain of it in sanity, in truth, and in strength. And it's clear, it's clean, and it's karmically pure. And then the final piece of advice I offered you was develop a new ethic, develop a new philosophy, be straightforward with people, tell the truth to yourself first and foremost, be tough. Part of this ethic, this philosophy, this altering of the unconscious beliefs, this is from me to you. This is not like, oh, I'm going to teach you a thing. This is from me to you. Watch for a tendency to try and get what you want by complaining or whining first as a primary response. Take action. Don't complain. Take action. We all do this. We all do this. We've always done this. It's very human to do this. In the times in which we live now, people are a little bit softer than they would have been in other times. The level of entitlement is higher because materialistically things are easier now, whilst psychologically and emotionally they're probably somewhat harder. So when that impulse in you to whine, to complain, to make a fuss, to demand to see the manager, appeals to higher authority, all of that is an infantile response, and you're not really doing anything. It might make you feel like a little dirty, little low energy buzz for a second. If it works out the way you want, you're like, oh, I got my way, or I got them in trouble. I fucking showed them, but you're not doing anything. You're not actually doing anything. There was a martial art I used to study years ago called Systema, a Russian martial art. And one of the major principles of Systema was action is not activity. So this stuff that can make you feel good and like you're doing something is actually activity. When you want something or you want something to change, take action, be forthright, get out into the world and do something. Talk is cheap. Talk is very cheap. Take action. On that note, ladies and gentlemen, I will leave you. Thank you so much for joining me here tonight. Thank you for your time and your attention. I appreciate it very much. And I look forward to speaking to you all again very soon. Thank you.